I get a million messages, LinkedIn messages. Oh, I want to work in sports. How do I get started? The biggest thing is putting yourself in the right rooms, making sure you are where people are, right? Looking up what the events are, making sure you are at the right places at the right time, and just networking and meeting people and showing your value in that way. I think a lot of times in sports, we talked about before, it's all about your network, right?
Welcome back to Innovate or Evaporate. We have an awesome guest, Jeanine Ogbonnaya today. She is a sports agent, and I can't wait to dive into the world of, I've always thought the world of like being a sports agent is so like fascinating. All the things go into it. Jerry Maguire, right? The movie that we've all seen, Show Me the Money. So there's probably all these stereotypes. But Jeanine, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
And I cannot wait to dive into this. So if I wanted to be a sports agent, there's a university in particular I probably want to go to, and that's Alabama. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's definitely up there. It was amazing. Listen, I'm from New Jersey. I went to the University of Alabama in 2012. So this is kind of before it was very cool to go to the University of Alabama. I was the only person from my high school ever. I get to the Tuscaloosa, Alabama, which is God's given gift to college football fans. And
this is Saban days.
Saban days, back-to-back championships. I think I saw 3 in my 3.5 years there. I mean, it was just incredible.
That's a college kid's dream.
Yeah, just absolutely incredible. And I mean, I'm like the only brunette girl I think these people had ever seen. Like, they used to call me Snooki. It's like, I promise.
So in down south, everybody, the women wear the sundresses.
Oh, it's very different.
The dudes wear the khaki pants. And
it was a culture shock. Listen, I'm full-blooded Italian from New Jersey. Like, parents are from Brooklyn. Like, it was a culture shock and a half, but I think that's what was so amazing about it, because when else can you do that, right? Like, at what other point in your life can you have that experience to experience a different culture? And it was awesome. I loved it. It was the best 3.5 years of my life. It's crazy to think how long ago it was at this point, but...
So in college, what was your major in college?
I was a sports broadcasting major.
Sports broadcasting. Were you thinking sports agent at that time?
Absolutely not. That would never have been on my radar. I grew up, I wanted to be the weather woman. That was my dream in life. From a very young age, I wanted to be the weather woman, and so I really wanted to go to Penn State.
Yep.
And I'm obviously from New Jersey, so it's close. And my senior year of high school was actually the Sandusky scandal type year. And so, I quickly decided, okay, maybe it's not the best time to go to Penn State. Who knows what's going on over there? And we had a recruiter come to our high school, and she was like, she was from Pennsylvania, and she said, if you've ever been to Penn State and been on that campus and seen the school spirit and camaraderie, picture that times 30 at the University of Alabama. I was like, great. So I go home, tell my parents, I'm like, I want to go look at the University of Alabama. They're like, do you even know where that is on a map? Like, what do you mean? And so we go, I visited it. The moment I walked on campus, I knew it was like the place for me. My parents, up until the day before I left for college, my mom was like, you're not going. You're not going. But it really changed the entire trajectory of my life. The moment I got on campus, I fell in love with sports. So I initially was a news broadcast major. I'd never been to a game in my life, like could care less about sports, knew nothing. And so I was a news broadcast major. Day one on campus, I've always been a very driven person. I was like, I'm gonna get an internship, I'm a freshman. I start working for a Christian radio station in Alabama, and I'm, covering news stuff for them, like, the opening of a new Walmart, like weird, niche things. And so they were like, our sports person is sick. Can you cover the game for us this weekend? And it happened to be the Texas A&M Alabama game when Johnny Manziel came to Alabama, a storied game.
Right?
And
yes.
So I'm sitting in the press box and I'm just like, this is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. I fell in love. No joke, I leave that game, I go buy Football for Dummies at Barnes & Noble and an Xbox and start teaching myself the game of football. I bought Madden and I just started playing. And that's how I taught myself the game. I switched to sports broadcasting. I started covering football regularly for that station. And the rest is kind of history.
I love that, right? These moments happen in our lives. And I always talk to my son about, you poke your nose through doors, right? And sometimes you like what you see on the other side, you step through it. Sometimes you don't, you go to the next door.
Yeah.
So this moment comes up and you step through it full blast and arrive on the scene.
Yeah, and you always have to be ready. Like, I'll tell your son that too. I took that opportunity when I sat in that press box at 18 years old, I made myself business cards at Staples right before.
Oh my gosh, that's
I
awesome.
put my school email on there. No other info. I mean, I didn't have a real job or anything.
Right.
But I was like, I'm going to be prepared for this. And I made business cards and I just networked that press box. And I ended up meeting a man who was Johnny Manziel's quarterback coach. And he was also on ESPN College Game Day. And I told him, my dreams. And he was like, come work for me. You can be my assistant. And, you'll be able to meet all the people in sports media. And so I did, and that's what I did for 3.5 years in college. And I was coming to Indianapolis every year for the combine and sitting with GMs and coaches and the bigwigs at ESPN. And I was going around to College Game Day with him. And that's when I met somebody who was, at the time he was the president of the Carolina Panthers, their PR department. And I went and worked for him. And that's when I really saw how underserved players were in the PR and marketing side. And that's how I got to meet all their agents, and that's when I really decided that's what I wanted to go into instead.
So you worked with him for a number of years, and then you started your own business right when COVID started. A great time to start a business.
Definitely.
Right?
Crazy.
It's already scary enough, and then everything shuts down.
It was never like, oh, I'm going to start my own business. It just kind of happened organically, which is crazy because that's how a lot of my career has been. I knew that it was time for me to start to build my own brand identity in the business. I had built up such a great, I call it a black book of just contacts, and that's what this business is, right?
Yep.
It's who you know and how well you know 'em.
Relationships.
And so I had built up a really great, contact list, and I knew it was time for me to kind of build my own. But I thought that would be at a large agency because that's kind of what this business teaches you to do. There's, the 4 big agencies in the world, and that's where you have to go to be successful. That's where all the big clients are, and they can just do everything. And so that's where you have to go to be successful is what people want you to think, and that's how they recruit their players. And so, I was kind of deciding, like I said, I had just gotten married. I had just found out I was pregnant, so a very scary time to be starting a business. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna open an LLC. I'm gonna broker brand deals and have my son really enjoy this time as a mother. And then, once I feel comfortable, then, I'll start looking at where I wanna go agency-wise. And my world changed overnight, basically.
So you went back and got a master's as well before you started your business, right?
I did.
And what was that master's in?
So I did my MBA at the University of Miami.
Yep.
They actually had a program. They don't have the program anymore. That was called the Athletes and Artists Program at the University of Miami. So it was a program that was set up to be able to offer, post-graduation school to NFL and NBA players to be able to get their masters while still playing. It was me and about 15 retired and current NFL players in this master's program. It was a 2-year program. It was set up around the NFL schedule. So it was right before OTAs. We would do 3 weeks of, 9 o'clock at night of schooling. That would be one semester. Then right before training camp. It was very, very cool. It was a really awesome experience.
Well, and you're building relationships too.
Absolutely.
While you're getting your master's. So, okay, so you talked about athletes being underserved. And you saw this from a little bit of a different angle, it sounds like, than the churn and burn kind of big agency practices. So tell us about that. What do we not see as the layman, right, looking at the world of athletes and what they're trying to accomplish? What's that like behind the scenes? Where are the gaps?
I think I don't want to say issue because it obviously works for a lot of people, right? But I think what you traditionally see is there are large agencies that handle the player contract, they handle the marketing, they handle PR, they handle the branding, they handle everything in-house, right? And really all they care about, especially in the NFL space and NBA space, a little different in women's basketball, all they really care about is the playing contracts. That's where the real money is, right? The marketing is just I'm just doing this to keep you happy, basically. There are exceptions to the rule, and there are players that are making a ton of money, especially with the boom in content recently, and podcasts, and TikTok, and all of the things. There are exceptions to that rule, but really their main concern is the contract. In my opinion, athletes are businesses, right? You are your own brand.
Right.
You are your own CEO.
Yep.
When you're the CEO of a company, do you just let one person handle finance, accounting, branding, marketing, contracts, legal? No, you hire the best people in each department, and they all are separate. There's checks and balances, and that's how like a well-run company is. And so in my opinion, that's how athletes' brands should be set up.
That's
Not everything
Yeah.
should be put into one hand, and there should be, a team of experts in each department surrounding that athlete to really help build their brand in the best way possible.
That's interesting, and I agree with that so much. I never thought about that way for an athlete from their point of view. And I love what you said about checks and balances,
Absolutely.
right? Because athletes just have people. On other podcasts we talked about, we use the word vultures, and I mean that well, nicely. I don't know,
Absolutely, no, it's true.
but like so many people coming at them, and it's such a small percentage of professional athletes that are making a lot of money, and others, like if they get cut or get injured or something, that could have a massive impact on their lives.
Absolutely.
And if that money, the money management portion and the brand management portion is not done properly,
Yeah.
I mean, things could change overnight for them.
We stress, so my husband is a former NFL player. He played 8 years in the NFL. He played at University of Texas on the Vince Young National Championship team. He then got drafted and he bounced around the league. He was never one of those guys that was on a steady contract, but he's incredibly smart. He also went after he was done playing with the NFL. He went back to the University of Texas, got his MBA, so he's brilliant. But we also always talk about that transition, what that transition is like and how unprepared most players are for that transition. And really setting up tools while you're playing to be able to build your brand that can last you well past your playing days. That's always my goal, especially with Angel, is how can we build a brand that you can continue to do things well past your days playing basketball, because we never know. She could go play tonight and she could get a career-ending injury. Absolutely, but it's what it is, knock on wood.
Knock on wood,
it's
right?
true, it's the reality. And so you really have to build, obviously saving money and, be smart in that sense, but you also, it's really important to build a brand that, God forbid something like that happens, you're still okay.
Sheldon Day, who now plays with the Washington Commanders, started a company called the Players Company, and their focus is on financial management, right? And really helping all players. Their goal is to serve all athletes, but starting off in the NFL and really trying to serve players to learn about financial management, like out of the gate. And $1 million, let's say it's $1 million a year, that goes away pretty fast, right? You pay taxes, and if you get a car and a house, and things go pretty quick.
Especially now with NIL, because kids are getting it so much younger, right? You're 18, you're getting paid now $1 million to come play to school. Like at 18, if somebody handed me, I don't know what up, that's crazy. And so they're not taught these things in school. And so putting that kind of, knowledge and power in their hands and really making sure, one, they have great teams around them that understand, their families are involved. I hate this connotation where people are saying now, the family shouldn't be involved, they're the issue. Absolutely, your family should be involved. You're a child still, I'm sorry. But, so, I think with NIL, things have really changed. I think it's incredible. Listen, we benefited immensely from NIL. It was absolutely insane. And I think without NIL, if Angel would have just gone right to the league, I don't know where we would have been. It would have been a different threshold we would have started at. And NIL really helped us build that to get to this point. Everything has been a building block. And so, it's incredible. It's a crazy world, and it's a crazy time to be living in.
So let's touch on, you mentioned Angel a couple of times there, Angel Reese, right? You come out of the gate and just crush it with there's a lot of incredible players in the WNBA. And by the way, we're recording this right now in Indianapolis for WNBA All-Star Weekend. And so you come out of the gate and you just crush it with a very, very well-known player.
I get a lot of credit. But I often tell people, it's all her. She is incredible. She gets it. I've worked with so many athletes, and from the moment I spoke with her, the day NIL got passed, she was at the University of Maryland at the time. She had I think it was 50,000 followers. She gets it. She understands what it takes, what she needs to do to help build her brand. And so, she is 1,000%, she's an anomaly. I tell her all the time, what you do, how we build your brand, it will be studied one day. It will be a Harvard case study one day. And so she is incredible. It has been a wild ride. I don't think either of us could ever have dreamed it's turned into what it did, but we are just loving it and continuing to just do amazing things and rewrite the playbook for what athlete marketing and branding is supposed to be like, because she's so much more than an athlete.
Yep.
And that's what makes Angel so incredible, is she is so multidimensional. Yes, obviously basketball is the most important thing, and that is her, day job, and that is where her focus and her mindset is. But she enjoys fashion and podcasting, and there's so much more to her. She's so complex as a person, and so we've really been able to tap into all those things off the court and really humanize her and show that. And I think it's been really successful.
So NIL, good thing, bad thing? What do you think?
It's incredible.
It's incredible. How do you think it manifests itself over time? Do you think there ends up being regulation that kind of spreads, because some schools have more money than other schools, et cetera. How do you think that evolves over time?
I think it'll definitely start to evolve. I think I saw something recently while I was flying here. They're trying to regulate the amount of money now. Listen, like now there's the rev share model. I think it obviously has to be capped at some point, right? Like when NFL teams, NBA teams, WNBA teams, they have a cap. There's cap space. There's only so much you can make. So when we're talking about NIL, I think also people don't realize that there's two levels to it, right? There's the money that you're getting from the school, and then there's also like the outside marketing deals, right? That you have a separate agent that's handling those things and sourcing those deals. That I don't think, that's kind of hard to cap, right? That's always going to go to the players that are the most marketable. The money coming from the school is obviously a little bit more performance-based. I do think that there will be a cap put on it because it's just going to keep growing, right? It's just going to get crazier and crazier and crazier. And then, you see like Texas A&M, who has oil money and all this crazy money, they're able to offer just these crazy dollar amounts. Listen, I want the athletes to be able to get as much as they can. They deserve it. They're the ones putting their bodies on the line every single day, bringing so much revenue to the schools, and I think they deserve it, right? That's why we're here. That's why we're at these games, is because of them. If they weren't there, what would we be watching? Right. So I think they all deserve it.
If let's say I have a skill set, I'm an accountant, I'm a banker, I'm an investor, marketing, I'm an influencer, but I haven't yet. I want to enter this professional sports world. I want to work with you as a sports agent. What recommendations do you have of how I can put my best foot forward to show you value of why you would want to talk to me, to provide whatever service I have to your clients?
It's hard. It's a question I get a lot, right? I get a million messages, LinkedIn messages. Oh, I want to work in sports. How do I get started? I think it's just the biggest thing is putting yourself in the right rooms, right? Making sure you are where people are, right? Looking up what the events are, making sure you are at the right places at the right time, and just networking and meeting people and showing your value in that way. I think a lot of times in sports, we talked about before, it's all about your network, right? It's not so much of where you went to school. It's not like, with lawyers, right? Only if you want to go to a big law firm, you have to have gone to Harvard. It's not like that in sports. Quite frankly, I don't think really anybody cares. You asking me where I went to school today, I think it's the first time I've been asked that in years. So, nobody cares about that, but it's about putting yourself in the right rooms, showing up with, always being professional. I think that's another issue in this business, is there's a lot of unprofessionalism. Right. But always being professional no matter what the situation, and showing that you can be reliable, because like you said, there are a lot of snakes. There are a lot of people always trying to get at athletes with the wrong, mentality, and showing that you can be trusted. Yeah, trust. You can keep close lips. We don't want to start having to throw NDAs around. I think that goes a long way.
Janine, thank you so much for coming on Innovate or Evaporate. I'm so excited to watch your journey, right? You've started your own business. You started during one of the hardest times, right at the onset of COVID. You've landed a great client, and your energy is infectious. And I can't wait to watch how you grow your business over the coming years. And I hope this is just the beginning of our relationship.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Until next time on Innovate or Evaporate.